You return every single email, you meet the deadlines, and you try to hold everything together in meetings. You probably even remember everyone's birthday, and you're also probably looking after everyone else without being asked. And from the outside, everything looks together and perfect. But on the inside, there's a constant hum or noise. It's like a low-level complementary of everything that could actually go wrong, everything you haven't done yet, and everything you need to stay on top of. You always slightly brace for something. This makes you can't fully relax, even though that everything is fine, because there's always something to worry about. And that sudden moment that things go quiet, the anxiety gets louder. This is a high-functioning anxiety. And because it doesn't look like what people think that anxiety looks like, it often goes unrecognized for years, sometimes decades, sometimes years, and sometimes the person who's experiencing this doesn't even call it anxiety. It could be called driven, being responsible, being alert, being I'm fine. My name is Pui, your favorite holistic kinesiologist. Today, we are going to talk about what is actually happening to your nervous system when this is your baseline. Because understanding is the first step to something actually shifting. So what I'm going to go through here is that what is actually happening here? Why does someone appears to be coping when they are so wired underneath? So let's just go to something that I spoke about 2 weeks ago. Your sympathetic nervous system, your fight-flight response. In a typical acute stress response, the system activates when there's a threat. You respond to the threat, and then your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest, brings you back down. That system is designed to oscillate, activate, recover, activate, recover. So imagine in high functional anxiety, that recovery piece doesn't fully happen. Your sympathetic nervous system stays activated at a low level, but constant level, but not enough to feel like a panic attack and not enough to stop you functioning, but in fact, often to make you feel like you are performing at your best. There's a particular neurochemistry to this state, which is low but a persistent cortisol, a nervous system that has learned to run on adrenaline. And the brain has associated this with activated state with productivity, control, and safety. The prefrontal cortex, your thinking and your planning brain, actually works reasonably well with mild stress. This is why high-functioning anxiety can feel like a feature rather than a problem. So you are sharp, productive, you anticipate things before they even happen. So your nervous system has essentially weaponized your stress response to an achievement mechanism. But here's the downside. Your body never becomes fully offline. So therefore, your muscle becomes super tight and holds chronic tension. This is why we get a lot of neck and shoulder pain. And it's often in the chest, the jaw, the belly. Your digestion is suddenly disrupted. So your sleep might be even fine in duration, but it's not fully restorative. This is why you wake up feeling really tired, even though you had an 8 hours sleep and you need more. Your immune system is mildly suppressed from the ongoing cortisol. And over time, that gap between how you look on the outside and how you feel in the inside gets wider until something happens, like a burnt out, a health signal, a relationship breaking under the pressure. This makes it impossible to ignore. The chest pain is worth noting. This is the most constant physical signatures of high functional anxiety. So you might still feel a constriction on the chest, around the heart and the sternum. And that becomes so familiar that you actually stop noticing it, the heart palpitations. And what happens when you have a heart palpitation or your chest becomes tight, your breath becomes shallow without realizing. Because the heart stays elevated, so the constriction is directly connected to what I want to show you today, which is in the technique section. So how does your nervous system end up here? How does it start running on a high particular pattern of high output And the constant vigilance plus the difficult resting almost always starts with an environment where being calm, capable, and together was either rewarded or necessary for safety. Maybe you were a child who had to be easy, who couldn't afford to need too much because a parent was overwhelmed or unpredictable or simply not emotionally available. So you had to manage yourself, not to be a burden, to be fine. Or maybe achievement was the primary currency of love and approval in your family. Like doing well meant being seen. Struggling meant being invisible or a disappointment. So your nervous system had learned how to perform, to be safe, stay on top of everything to stay loved. So when I was growing up, my parents were always working. For me to be seen, to be safe, I had to look after myself and not be a burden. And also in my education, I tried to work so hard with all my grades to be safe, to be loved, to be seen. It could be maybe your environment was generally unpredictable, financially, emotionally, physically, and maybe staying alert, anticipating, planning 3 steps ahead of you was how you kept yourself okay. And the hypervigilant was protected. It was intelligent and it worked. And then you grew up and you kept doing it. This is the pattern. Because your nervous system never got that memo that the environment had changed, it had evolved, and that you were safe now. And you can actually put that guard down. This is why high-functioning anxiety does not respond well to logic. You can intellectually know that everything is fine. You can make a reason why there's nothing to worry about. And the noise or the humming continues. Because it's not from your thoughts. It's coming from your nervous system that has been set to a particular baseline for a very long time. And changing a baseline requires working on the level of the body, not the mind. So the point I want to give today is called Pericardium sits. It's one of my favorite, specifically to the pattern. So in traditional Chinese medicine, pericardium meridian is often the sheath of the heart. It protects the heart. The heart is the brain of the emotions. So it governs the chest area, the emotional center, and we might describe it as a boundary between your inner world and outer world. So when someone has been managing, performing, and holding it together for a long time, the pericardium is often depleted. So this is where you get the tight chest, and it's holding a lot. When your chest is tight, your breath is shallow, and the heart is also slightly inaccessible to yourself because of the shallow breathing. There's no qi coming towards the heart. Pericardium sits is also clinically researched, and it's used in Western acupuncture practices for nausea, tight chest, and anxiety. So it directly influences the vagus nerve and to the parasympathetic nerve. Just a quick note, this is for educational purpose and it's not a substitute for medical advice. If you are pregnant, please check with your doctor or your midwife before doing any of these acupressure points. So how do you find pericardium sit? You're going to bring your hand in front of you and you're going to find a crease. It doesn't matter which hand you do, this is where you're going to find a crease here. And I want you to put 3 fingers here. And where the 3rd finger lands, the ring finger, is in between the 2 tendons that you have here. So I want you to press this point here. So for me, it's around here. So I want you to press here for yourself. You can hold it with your thumb and turn your hand towards your heart. And I just want you to close your eyes and maybe feel a slight radiation down your arm to your heart. You can pause the video and do both arms. And this is a good point when you can't sleep. This is a very good point to press when you're trying to fall asleep. So I just want you to take a couple of deep breaths through the nose and out through the nose. Just feel the releasing of the holding, and just let your sternum drop and let your shoulders just sink in and settle. So what you're actually doing is communicating with the system that governs the chest tension and the cardiac rhythm. Pericardium sits is telling your nervous system the protection isn't needed right now. You can let the guard down a little. So for people who carry high functioning anxiety, that sensation of the chest soften is something quite unfamiliar. Even if it slightly might feel a bit vulnerable, it's information to yourself, and that's how long the guard has been up for. And that's how long you've been holding this war. High functional anxiety patterns is something that I do work with frequently. And it's one of the most under-recognized because you look fine. And because you are fine, in a lot of ways, you're capable and you're coping and nothing has broken down yet. But there's a version of you that isn't running on adrenaline, that doesn't need the hum to feel safe. That can be still without the anxiety filling the silence. And that version doesn't require you to stop being capable or driven or responsible. It just requires your nervous system to find a different way to resource itself. And that doesn't cost you everything quietly in the background. This is the work I do in functional neurokinesiology sessions, one-to-one online. I directly work with the nervous system and the patterns that keep you in the state. It's not talk therapy, it's not mindset work, it's body-based specific than often people expect. The link to book a session is below in the description box, and I'm also running an 8-week program for the regulated women, and this is a program that aims to help dysregulated women or people on high functional anxiety to bring the nervous system back to the balanced state. And again, it's down in the description box in the link below. But if you do want to start gently, I do have a free 7 days break the loop email series, and it's a good introduction to what I am actually talking about, which works on the subconscious mind and belief systems. And if you recognize yourself in this video, please share it with someone who needs to hear the hum is not who they are, and it's just a pattern and it can change. And if you really like this video, please subscribe, like, or comment. I would really appreciate to get the word out about how the body and mind are super connected and how it's related to nervous system, not to the actual surface level symptom. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.